Without further delay, I would like to share with you my screen. Okay. First of all, I would like to thank each of you who are tuning in via our Zoom and Facebook. My name is Danish. I'm one of the leaders of Tindak Malaysia Network Services PLT, or commonly as you would associate as Tindak Malaysia. And today we are going to go through a particular program called the Petugas program, specifically Petugas SPR program. So some of you have asked, what is this Petugas SPR program? Some of you have not even encountered what we have been doing for the past 5 years. Every month, we will issue this poster for calling the Malaysian public in general to consider to be a Petugas SPR. In simple terms, come, let's become the Election Commission's polling staff. And because we will learn later that this is the most important role when it comes to implementing free and fair elections. Today, we will go through what is the Petugas role is all about, why and Tindak Malaysia adopted this program, how did we proceeded with this program. We will reflect on the experience for the 2023 state elections Petugas program and also for G15. Then we will study about who qualifies to be a Petugas. I think that's a very important question. So let me just minimize a couple of things. First of all, the Petugas, or in English we call polling staff, are individuals who are executing the relevant duties for elections. So the key word is executing relevant duties for elections. You're not there to monitor. You're not there to observe. You actually are the implementers of elections, right? All Petugas candidates report to the returning officer. So the returning officer, the Pegawai Pengurus, is tasked by the Election Commission to run elections for a given constituency, be it at the parliamentary level, and if the state elections are separate, then you have the state constituency level. So for example, in the 2023 state elections, we had 245 state constituencies. That means 245 returning officers and 245 returning officers teams or office themselves. Now, the question is, under this Pegawai Pengurus or the returning officer, what are some of the roles that has been mentioned as to be in the Petugas realm? And we will go through this briefly. What are these roles? Okay. First one, Pembantu Pilihan Raya, PPR. Very hard to get. This role is largely an office desk job. It can cover anything, administrative work. Okay. Just to give everyone a context, returning officers are usually drawn from city council or municipal council, land office. Okay, these are the two major groups. But when you have a situation whereby you need to have 245 returning officers, for example, then it is not possible to have one council, like one RO to cover 3 or 4 constituencies, right? So for example, the Petaling Jaya City Council may have a couple of divisions, and each division will be tasked to cover one constituency. Okay? So that's how it works out. Okay? So under each of these constituencies, you have all these Petugas, Pembantu Pilihan Raya, then you have the Ketua Tempah Mundi, the presiding officer. Those who have done Pacha, those who have done Pemerhati will know how important this role is. Basically, he or she, the Ketua Tempah Mundi, the KTM in short, is the boss of the saluran. He or she determines how the polling and the counting process is to be done in accordance to the law. That's what we want. But unfortunately, the historical experience that we had from up to G14 was most likely they have gone against it. Then you have the Penyelia Pusat Mengundi. The Penyelia Pusat Mengundi is basically the boss of the compound. So just to give you an idea, your polling center, be it the day one, be it the school, be it the balai, be it the field where they send up the tents, we have two important parts. One is the saluran, where actually the polling and the counting takes place. And then you have the compound. Okay, the compound is basically where the voters comes in, where the pachas comes in, where the Pemerhatis comes in, where the Petugas candidates all come in, right? In the compound, you have a boss called Penyelia Pusat Mengundi. Okay. Basically, it's a polling center supervisor. he or she is to manage two people under them. That is, one is Kerani Penyemat Daftar Pemilih, KPDP, the electoral roll clerk, whereby the person actually will check whether your name is in the electoral roll for that given polling center. Okay. Then we had the Pemandu Arah Pusat Mengundi, PAPM. Okay. These are the people who actually will guide you to where the saluran is, where you should get necessary assistance, right? PAPM. So KPDP and PAPM report to the PPM. Then you have the Kerani Pengundian and Kerani Mengira Undi. Okay. These two roles, the polling clerks and the counting clerks, reports under the Ketua Tempat Mengundi. So when we Tindak Malaysia, we come from the rich heritage doing the pacha work. Naturally speaking, our people will gravitate to become a KTM and KP. But we will learn later on that when we talk about the Petugas job, it's more than just KTM and KP. Okay, for some of us, we still trying to grasp what on earth is a Petugas role and how it is differ to, let's say, you've been a Pemerhati or you've been a Pacha. Okay. First thing first, when you are appointed to be a Petugas, ATM or KP, KPDP, whatever. Sorry, I would ask those who just joined in to mute your microphone. Okay. Those Petugas, in effect, reports to the returning officer because there is the returning officer who gives out the appointment letter. Okay. Pemerhati SPR. Pemerhati SPR reports to the election commission because they are observers and they are observers authorized by the election commission. At the same time, the observers reports to the NGO they're part of. For example, Tindak Malaysia have sent Pemerhatis since the 2019 Cameron Highlands by-election. Okay. Then you have the Pacha. Pacha reports to the candidate. Let's be very clear. Pacha serves the candidate, not the party. Okay. We tend to conflate both, but Pacha reports to the candidate. Now, the second part is the neutrality requirement, meaning referring to your political leanings, your preferences to the candidates. As a Petugas SPI, it is compulsory to be neutral. This is non-negotiable. Once you be appointed as Petugas, you shall put aside Pacha, you shall put aside any forms of connections, visible or invisible connections with the political parties, with the candidates. You must be seen neutral and practice neutrality until the whole election process is over. Okay? Keep your political leanings to yourself. Pemerhati SPR, same rule. Because you are observing elections on behalf of the EC, it is a requirement that you shall actually be neutral. You cannot be siding one candidate against the other. If EC finds out that you are siding a particular party or candidate, you will be terminated. For the case of Petugas, will be terminated by the returning officer. Now, as a Pacha, the general idea is you are actually in favor of the candidate. You are the eyes and the ears of the candidate because on election day, the candidate is not going to be in the saluran all the time. Candidate has far bigger business to handle. So you are tasked by him or her to monitor the elections. Okay. Now, Petugas SPR. Who gives the training? Yes, EC. But to be very specific, EC just gives briefing. It's not really training. Okay. This is why we in Tindak Malaysia had to make our own initiative, spend our own resources to train potential Petugas SPR candidates because of the insufficiency both in depth and content by the EC's briefings. Okay. Later we will learn a bit more on this. Then for the Pemerhati SPR, EC gives training. So one-day training. NGOs, including us. That's what we did last year and even in the years before. As a Pacha, you can be trained by the EC, you can be trained by us, you can be, of course, you will be trained by your candidate's team. Now, what is the responsibility of these different roles? As Petugas SPR, you implement elections. Pemerhati, you observe the elections. As a Pacha, you monitor the elections. Okay. Now, when it comes to seat choices, where should I choose in my constituency? As a Petugas SPR, I'm going to make it upfront. It is irrelevant because you are there to implement free and fair elections. So it doesn't matter whether you're serving in Kampung Tunggu, or in Telomong, or in Batu Sapi, or in Kangar. It's irrelevant. Same for Pemerhati. It, it is irrelevant. Yes, you may have your preferences, but at the end of the day, it is irrelevant. If the NGO, let's say Tindak Malaysia, say you shall go to Dun Rahang in Negeri Sembilan, you should accept that. It's not because that seat is competitive or not. We have our own reasons why we choose that seat. It's different to the Pacha. It is actually the reason why you sign up for Pacha is because of your allegiance to the candidate or to the party. So hence the seat choice is subjective to the marginality concept and more importantly, the allegiance to the candidate. And something I need to emphasize, we have gone through 6 or 7 types of roles as Petugas SPR, KT and KP, all of this. I really need to emphasize, especially those who are moving from Pacha into this realm of Petugas, never see any role of Petugas as inferior or superior to each other. Yes, there is a hierarchy. KTM is the boss of Saluran, PPM is the boss of your compound. Yes, we need to respect that authority, but do not come with that mindset, say, oh, KTM is far more important than KP. We work as a team. Every role is very important because every Petugas bears responsibility of executing free and fair elections. And one thing I need to really emphasize is every Petugas candidate carries far greater weight than a Pemerhati and Pacha combined together. It doesn't matter if the Saluran has 10 Pachas or 1 Pemerhati or 2 Pachas and 1 Pemerhati, being a KTM or KP, your impact is far greater than them. Now, question is, how did this program come about? So many, many years ago, this month, in 2012, that is 12 years, our founder, P.Y. Wong, stated that the Petugas candidates are to be drawn from the civil society, right? Here he was very specific, returning officers, pegawai pengurus, and presiding officers, KTM. Back in those days, the big problem was irregularities. So in order to break the lines of cheating, the proposal that was laid to the Parliamentary Select Committee on Electoral Reform was we need to bring these people so that we can ensure there is integrity. Because that was a dream. It was never possible at that time. After G14, we got the chance to implement this idea. And today we have reframed the whole purpose of the Petugas program. It's not about breaking the lines of cheating. That's the past. We really have to move from the past. We're tackling gross incompetency. Once you become a Petugas, you will understand what I'm talking about. Okay. Then we also push in EC to reform the Petugas training. That's a lot of work needs to be done. Then we are actively assisting EC to improve its public image. Because at the end of the day, EC must inspire public confidence. Okay, just to give you a bit of a history of the whole program, the conception of the idea started in 2012, but it was not possible to implement. Hence, that time, our focus has been very much on Pacha. Okay. Then in 2018, we had the breakthrough that not only just about the change of government, just bear with me, a change of government, but more importantly, there was a change in EC. We had a new EC chairman, new setup of EC commissioners. And that's when in October 2018, we submitted the first submitted names to EC. At that time, we just started out with 5 names. My apologies, my lighting is a bit weak. Okay. Then once we submitted the names in October 2018, we moved to year 2019, the first deployment of the Petugas. That happens to be in the Semuanya by-elections, where we deployed our first KTM and KP. It was a historic breakthrough. After 7 years after the conception of this idea, we made this happen. Okay. Over time, we have deployed KTMs and KP for other by-elections. For example, Rantau and Kimanis. And in 2020, we got the chance to deploy our first KTM and KP for Undi Awal that was in slim by-elections. Okay. And in 2021, we were trusted the challenge to meet the Malacca 2021 state elections. So previously, for every by-election, we only send 1 or 2 people. Now we have decided to expand them. And that's where we started to face the challenges of how to get to know about vacancies. Because up to the slim by-elections, EC used to help us. Thereafter, they stopped. Because there was a change in EC's leadership and the attitudes on EC on reform has turned a bit colder. Then in 2022, the Petugas program grew in size for the Johor 2022 elections. In 2021, we deployed 4 people. 2022, we deployed 11 people. From all these experiences, we have realized that it is not enough to just send our people directly to EC's briefing and expect them to know the duty because they have Pacha experience. We have realized the Pacha mindset is more of a hindrance at this point. So we have decided that for the purposes of the coming GE, which happened in 2022, we started to do the training from June. So every month we used to do training. By the way, when we train our Petugas, we're concurrently training those who want to be Pacha, those who want to be Pemati, because they need to know the process, how it is done according to the law. While we're doing this whole training, we were doing recruiting, we were deploying, and we were giving them offline support. In 2022, we had our biggest deployment of Petugas candidates in Tindak history. We deployed 32 people across 5 constituencies: Tambun, Damansara, Sepute, Puchong, and Pulai. Okay. Then for the preparation for the 2023 state elections, we have decided that we are going to adopt a more structured manner of how the program should be running. So every month last year, right, January to all the way to June, every month we used to do training, be it online or physical, because we really have to drill down in our Petugas mindset, the candidate's mindset, that you are here to carry out free and fair elections, so you need to know how to run the process correctly. Okay. And then for the 2023 state elections, we had our second largest deployment. We deployed 31 Petugas candidates across 10 state constituencies across 3 states. Then in September, we have officially announced the launch of the Petugas movement. We are actively recruiting those who wish to be a Petugas, those who wish to implement free and fair elections. This is just to give you a quick summary about the number of candidates that we have deployed over the years. Okay. What you notice for 2023 is we have gone beyond the topic of KTM and KP. It's not about a KTM program. It is a Petugas program. These are all the constituencies that we have served. Again, I would like to emphasize, if you serve as a Petugas, yes, you might have preferences, but all seats are equally important. So the seat choice is quite irrelevant. We have deployed so far 57 unique Petugas candidates, individuals, since the 2019 by-elections. And this table shows the frequency of the Petugas candidates serving for elections. So the one who is helming the current program, the Petugas program since September 2023, Suresh, he has served as KTM 5 times. He has, at the beginning, that is in 2019, until the 2023 state elections. But it doesn't matter if you are serving 5 times or first time. Let me tell you, as a first-time Petugas candidate, you feel very empowered. You have far greater weight than all the Pacha experience you might have had before. Now, this is to give you an idea. My apologies, it should be 2023 state elections Petugas program. It's not 2022. And this is what we're also going to do for this coming GE. From September and even today, we would like you to express interest to be a Petugas candidate. Then we will give you a form for you to fill up, whereby we will do the first cut filter, whether you are ready to be a Petugas. Okay, we are quite rigorous because, especially for the preparation for G15 and the reflections of that experience, quality trumps quantity. Because we are setting an example, we are telling EC that we can do this by our own resources, we can develop high quality, caliber Petugas candidates with integrity. And that's the message we're sending across to EC. Okay, and we need more of you who is tuning in today or going to see this advertisement in future to sign up. Then every Petugas candidate would have to go an X amount of training by us. We have felt that the EC's briefing, that's usually for KTM, just a one-day training, or for if you're a KP or PAPM or KPDP, only a half-day training, more like a briefing, it's not enough. So we felt that we have to start training all of you today. Okay. And the frequency of trainings is subject to the hierarchy of the role. Once you are qualified, you met the minimum qualified number of trainings, we will put you what we call a holding room, where we will ask you, where would you like to serve? Would you like to serve in the state of Selangor? Would you like to serve in the state of Raha, the state of Raha? You can list all your preferences you want. Okay. Then accordingly, we will door knock and try to find vacancies. Yes, we will try our best to find and match a preference. If you say you want Dun Rahang, for example, we will try our best. But if there is a situation that we cannot find Dun Rahang, we find a second preference or third preference. Or if there is an advertisement, we found out a seat, for example, Dun Sentosa needs 10 Petugas candidates. Then I would say at that point of time, you should drop your interest for Rahang and just focus on Sentosa. If Sentosa is seriously interested of getting Petugas candidates and really need people, you should just fill in that gap. Okay. This is why you have to be flexible and agile. If an advertisement comes out, you have to make the decision. It's not me. We can advise you. I will give you the push, but you have to make the final call. Is that the place you would like to serve? Then once you get the job, and by the way, even the whole process of getting the job is one process of its own. Okay, I will not dwell into too much into that details unless you raise this during the Q&A. Then from the day you get a confirmation of your job, all the way to election day, we in Tindak Malaysia will start giving you offline support. Not only just training, but that's the time you should be asking questions. How should I fill up the forms? How should I relate to my polling staff? How should I relate to my PPM? Or how should I understand in my dealings with the Pacha from the Petugas perspective? Because right now we have our own Petugas trainers. We have developed that since 2022. We have our own Petugas trainers who have real world experience on handling the challenges and the best practices in managing these relationships with the voters, with the Pachas, with the Pemahatis, you name it. Right? And more importantly, at this time, it is compulsory that you should attend the EC's briefing and set aside 3 to 4 days on short notice that you need to be on duty, including the election day. And once all this election is done, then we will ask you to evaluate our training experience. What do you think about Tindak Malaysia's training program? And more importantly, what do you think about EC's briefings? What do you think EC should be doing moving forward? Okay, these are the 5 stages. Now let's go to the criteria. Okay. Now with the Petugas, there are many types of criteria, but let's go through in sequence. By the way, this has been pasted on our Tindak Malaysia website and also sometimes on our Facebook and Twitter pages. From EC side, these are basic compulsory criteria. If you are holder of political party position, you have a choice. Don't sign up for the program or resign from that post and just sign up for our program. And by the way, I was informed that throughout my experience, one of them from the people I know intentionally resigned from the party position so that he can pursue this Petugas program. Party membership is okay. It's a position holding, and this is the same requirement for the Pemerhati. You must be a Malaysian citizen, and these are all the basic characteristics, right? Importantly, you must attend the EC's trainings or EC's briefings. Now, That is from the EC's point of view. But bear in mind, EC during the election, yes, constitutionally you will say, yes, EC carries out the election. But the one who executes the elections is the pengawai pengurus. So EC is more just a training provider during this time. So the returning officer, usually drawn up from all these government bodies, they tend to give preferences to their own group, their own fellow team members. But let's be very clear about one thing. There is no legal or constitutional requirement stating that the Petugas must come from civil service. There's no such thing as that. So there are some constituencies from our experience from 2019 all the way to 2023 that were willing to consider people from outside. But bear in mind, you are actually up against a very stiff competition. So this is where you will be tested on your flexibility, your agility, your perseverance. Because throughout this particular stage of the deployment, meaning getting allocated constituencies, you will be really tested on these skills. Because the question I'm going to lay to you is, to what end will you persist and persevere to get the Petugas job? And I would like you to persevere until the election day. Because it is possible at the 1 or 2 days before the polling, there is a sudden vacancy appear. Will you be willing to wait until that day if you need to get that job? Then the age is no less than 18. The upper age limit, it is subject to the returning officers. But generally speaking, Tindak Malaysia right now views it is that if you're 60 and above, I would rather recommend you to either help us in the Petugas program, not being a Petugas, or become a Pemerhati, or choose to be a Pacha. This is the unfortunate reality that the returning officers tends to frown upon candidates of 60 years and above. Now, from the Tindak Malaysia side, what we will say is you have to fulfill all the criteria from EC, must attend the EC trainings, and according to the frequencies that we have specified, very important, you must see the job of Petugas as a service to the country, not for the money. Yes, you will be compensated. You're not taken for a ride here. You're not taken advantage by this program. You are compensated. As a KTN, there's an honorarium plus an allowance. At the KP, you have an honorarium. Okay. Yes, that is good to know, but that's not a primary factor why you are signing up for the Petugas. You are signing up for that job because you want to serve the country. This, in this case, is far more effective than being a Pacha or Pemerhati. You will be asked, even during the first cut filter when we fill up the form, are you prepared to sacrifice 3 to 4 days on short notice during the election period for your job? This includes that 1 day training or briefing by EC, pre-polling day checks, polling day compulsory, and any additional days that the returning officers mandates you to come, be it collecting the forms, a second round of training. You must have your own car. This is absolutely compulsory, and you must be agile and flexible to get your job. Okay. So we have come to the end of our presentation. Now, this is a question I'm posing to all of you here. Are you ready to be a Petugas? Are you ready to reform EC? If the answer is yes to both, please email us at info@tindakmalaysia.com to express interest. And don't wait. Okay, so I will stop talking here, and I would like to open the time for Q&A.